Man, I love the neighborhood I live in. So quiet. Well, minus that little bitty disturbance that we had. What's going on, guys? It is Shay here. Welcome back to another prop review. This is my first ever prop review I've done over here at this house. So I'm actually really excited for this. And this is probably one of my best blaster prop builds I have made so far. So today, guys, I'm going to be showing you guys the X-8 Night Sniper pistol from Star Wars. Now, the first time this gun was ever seen was technically in Star Wars Rebels, but then it was reintroduced in Star Wars Battlefront, the reboot, the 2015 game, which I'm actually still playing. Even though I've never played the game before, I think it was always my dream to play that game 3 years ago. But, you know, now that I have the game, it's like, okay, well, I have it. But I knew I always wanted to make the X-8 Night Sniper at one point. Now, I did actually make this at one point back in the day, but it was, I think, around the size of your average blaster pistol. This thing is not the size of your average blaster pistol. This thing is a big piece of something. This is a huge blaster pistol, and because of that, it's making me, I think this is actually encouraging me to make more big blaster pistols, like the K16 Briar pistol, the DC-29, which is actually a pretty massive gun because it's made off the MP40, which the MP40 is a big SMG on its own. Other than that, I'm really excited for this. This is probably my best blaster pistol prop build to date, or so far. It's just like, I knew I was going to remake it at one point, and this is actually a picture right here of what my original X-8 Night Sniper used to look like. Man, did it look weird, but hey, it's freaking what I had at the time. And as I was entry back in the day, I was just basically, I was a huge beginner at props. I started making props in 2018, which is the little cardboard slabs, and this was kind of one of them, you know. But other than that, I'm really excited for this. So with that being said, let's begin. So the X-8 Night Sniper is a type of blaster pistol, and it is manufactured by Blastech Industries, which is one of the most, probably if not the most known blaster manufacturer, or was the most known blaster manufacturer in Star Wars Galaxy. They also made the DL-44, they also made the DH-17, they also made a couple other guns. They made the DC-17, DL-18, all those other guns. But this thing is really unique for a blaster pistol. First off, this thing is big, and it's bigger than your average blaster pistol. But what this thing is that it is a sniper pistol, and you don't really see those types of guns in real life or even in Star Wars, because they all have pretty bad ranges of fire, which means that those things will usually drop. They drop a lot faster than a bullet, which, because, you know, bullets go pretty far depending on what type of gun that you have. Now, like, yeah, even a blaster rifle doesn't go that far. So for this to be a sniper pistol, this thing is bound to be good. Now, yes, this is used by bounty hunters and smugglers in the Star Wars Galaxy, but you know, it's really only a couple people that have, or that are known to have used this gun. Actually, speaking of which, I've actually made a freaking video, like a little bit of lore video on the X-8 a long time ago. I wouldn't say a long time ago, maybe about 3 years ago. But I remember I made that, and I included the people who actually used this gun, or who was affiliated with. It was affiliated with Lando Calrissian, who was the guy who, I think, who made this gun the most famous. And well, minus the freaking dirt bikes in the background, four-wheelers or whatever they are, it is used by Lando Calrissian, who I think actually made the blaster pistol pretty popular to use. Actually, I think so. I'm not necessarily sure. Latts Razzi and C21 Highsinger also use these guns, but in their hands, especially C21 Highsinger's hands, this gun looks tiny. And they were also used by Anakin Skywalker at one point in an unfinished Clone Wars episode, which I thought was pretty cool. Even though I don't really watch Clone Wars, I just watched a clip of it, and man, did it actually look like a pretty cool scene. A Jedi dual-wielding X-8s at that. Like, because, you know, it was the soldiers, like, I guess, grunts, or, you know, I guess henchmen who had the X-8 as well, and Anakin took freaking 2 X-8s and dual-wielded them and whatever. And I thought it was pretty cool to see Anakin actually using a blaster, because, you know, we've really, in the movies, we've never seen Anakin use a blaster. But it's kind of cool to see him using this. And also, it's cool, it's also really noticeable, or kind of, I guess, important to note that when Anakin used these, they fire blue blaster bolts. The X-8 itself fires red bolts. And the gun, for a sniper pistol and shooting red bolts, the thing actually has a lot of recoil, as seen in Star Wars Battlefront 1, yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 1, because it's not really featured in the second game unless you're playing Lando. But, you know, just as a regular weapon, you know, using a stormtrooper, rebel trooper, or anything, the gun seems to have a lot of recoil, or seems to have a good amount of recoil in first person. Because when you shoot it in third person, you're usually going like maybe like that, you know, a couple little ups and downs. But in first person, you're going like the gun's going back like that. And I mean, I don't know. But I don't know, like, what's the whole point with that. But other than that, I absolutely love this blaster pistol. It's not one of my all-time favorite blaster pistols, but it is it's like a pretty good blaster pistol. Looks really cool and whatever, and has a pretty cool shooting noise. So on the details, you have a muzzle thing, I guess. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say a muzzle, but let's just say the barrel. You got the body itself, which has this little bullet ejector piece here. Now, I don't know what the X-8 is actually made off of, but I do know it was actually used in the movies at one point. It was used in Return of the Jedi, and I think it was actually a pretty small blaster pistol, if I'm correct. But still, though, I don't know what the X-8 is based off of, because it has a shell ejector port for, you know, when, you know, you're firing a handgun or whatever. Now, right here, I don't know what this is supposed to be, but I'm assuming that this is the power pack. Or maybe this is the power pack right here. But we do know that the Tabana has a store right here, which originally I was supposed to paint silver, but I found out it was not. You have your freaking elongated grip, which is actually pretty good for, I guess, you know, if you have big hands, I guess, like me, you know, and you couldn't really get a good grip on the gun, you could just grab it like this. Not even have to have your finger close to the trigger. You have your finger just grab it like this, and then you can just fire it or whatever. And for its big size, I don't know, maybe it might look natural in my hands, or probably might look natural in my hands. But other than that, you have a side-mounted scope, which is actually a really, really cool scope. And this is actually what makes the X-8 stand out from all the other blaster pistols with scopes on them, even though most of them have scopes on them. But this is what makes it stand out the most. And it is a heat vision scope. You can look through it, or no, you can't really look through it on the prop. But in the game, you can actually look through the scope and see, you know, the heat vision on whoever enemies you're trying to shoot at, or, you know, like any droids that are, like, I guess, enemy droids or whatever. You can look through the thing and you can shoot them. And that's one of the biggest advantages to the X-8. The gun also has a silencer feature, which I guess is kind of cool, but wouldn't that make it, I guess that's also why the X-8 is like used by so many bounty hunters at that. Because I guess due to the silencer, you could just run up someone and go, and then there's really no noise. I don't know how silencers work on blaster pistols, so I don't know, but I also went a little bit different to how I mount my scopes. Now, on blasters, like, let's say the DA-17, for example, the scope is actually built onto the gun when I was making it. When I was making the DA-17, I decided to build the scope onto it because it's mounted on the top. Unlike with blaster pistols, let's say for the X-8, for example, or even a DL-44, if I were to make that thing, which I highly doubt I will, but this thing right here, since it is side mounted onto the gun, I actually gave the gun a scope mount. And just to prove that, I'm aiming this thing away from my chest. This is the scope mount. And what I did was I cut into the side of the gun, if this thing will focus. I cut into the side right here of the gun, and I took 2 pieces of cardboard, hot glued them together, stuck it in there, and then even though I had a little bit of problems with it, I decided to keep on gluing it in until the scope was, you know, when I got the scope up here, you know, keep on gluing it in until, and this is also when these came in. If I want to aim this thing away from my face, this is when these freaking streaks of hot glue came in to play. Because if I did not have these, this thing would be wobbly as hell right now. So yeah, I'm actually kind of proud of myself with how I freaking managed to make a side mounted scope. I don't make side mounted scopes on any type of pistol weapons or any guns in general. Like, they're usually mounted on the top of the gun, like the DA-17, because I guess, I don't know, but then again, I mean, the scope is optional, so yeah. However, though, there are guns like the EC-17, like the scout pistol, the holdout blaster thing, where there is a side mounted scope, but it's side mounted on the gun completely instead of just being on an angle. But due to the fact that the scope on the X-8 is at an angle, side mounted at an angle, it was a little bit difficult to get the scope mounted properly without me having to worry about the gun getting wobbly or without having to worry about the scope being wobbly or whatever during, you know, like, you know, running it intensely or whatever. But other than that, I think that really does it for this blaster. I mean, it's such a cool looking gun, and I know a lot of people in the Star Wars community can say that as well, because a lot of people actually like the X-8. I mean, it might not be such a good gun to use in Star Wars Battlefront, like against people. I wouldn't know because I don't have the gun unlocked, but I mean, it's just the look of this thing. Now, also, I actually heard that when Star Wars Battlefront was first released, or was around the early days of Star Wars Battlefront 1, The X-8 was actually considered one of the worst guns to use in the game because I'm assuming, or was not, it wasn't considered a lot of people's guns to be the least favorite in terms of like gameplay terms. The X-8 was not really considered such a good blaster. I'm assuming due to the power, because I think in game it takes like what, 3 to 4, about 5 hits to kill someone with the thing. But at one point I think they increased, I don't know if they increased the headshot damage or actually increased the damage overall, but at one point it literally became a sniper and you could literally just aim with it and shoot someone from a distance and that can actually shoot them in the head or kill them or whatever you're gonna do with them. But yeah, I also, before I do continue, I also gave the scope a couple of gold and silver accents. Right here, you have it on right here because this is actually true to life to the actual scope that is on the gun in the game. You have your little bitty gold trim here on the scope, and you have some silver right here on the back. And also right here you have the scope mount piece, I guess, to unscrew it in the game or whatever. However though, when it comes to people actually using it, I've only ever seen Lando, who was the guy who technically made this gun popular. I've only ever seen him fire this gun once. That was between the shootout between the Spectres and As Morgan's crew, and he only ever fired it once, landed a freaking good shot on one of the grunts or one of his henchmen. Dude freaking pulled the gun from his shoulder holster, because he does have a shoulder holster for the gun. Freaking pulled it from his thing and just go, he shot the dude and it killed him. So, or I don't know, probably did kill him. But that really does it for this blaster pistol. This took a lot of effort. I decided to make a skit at the beginning of this, which I don't know how well that turned out, but man, was this a lot of work. So I guess we can go ahead and safely say that I made an X-8 Night Sniper, because I knew I was going to make it. I knew I was going to remake it at one point. Now my next goal is probably make the K16. That's also one of my favorites. I remember I made that at one point a long time ago, but I don't know. Maybe it might be the next blaster pistol I make, because now that I made the X-8, and now that I know that I can mount a scope, a side mounted scope at that at an angle, then I can basically do anything when it comes to making a blaster pistol with a scope. And that's majority of the blaster pistols that in Star Wars, they all have scopes on them. So yeah, let's go on ahead and move on to the shooting test. That really does it for this video. I am really proud of myself for the prop that I made here, because I think I started making the layers of this gun 2 days ago, and then I finished the gun last night. It's actually I finished it, well, the whole model of it last night, and I painted it today, and that's how I was able to get this prop review. I actually had to delete some video clips from a video I did yesterday about my new character from Detroit Become Human, which I have to redo. So yeah, with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Feels good to go back to prop reviews, and I might actually start making some more, but I might need to give my index finger right here a little bit of a break, because the scissors that I have absolutely freaking torture my index finger. It's like right here is where it hurts the most. Maybe I just need bigger scissors, but those scissors are actually pretty good. So anyways, with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.